Hello there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of Hero House Hero Talk. My name is Hagop, and today I will be walking you through growth marketing 101s. So I'm very excited to be here. Let me just quickly share my screen so you guys can see the presentation. All right. All right. One moment, guys. Screen. All right, this is not working. Share. All right, let's see if I do this. This is, apologies, guys. Here we go. Now I can see it. Let me just put it in presentation mode. I have two screens here, so, all right, there we go. Well, finally, some technical glitches, but we're there. So welcome again. My name is Hagop. Quick intro about me. I'm been in growth marketing for over 10 years now, working for application developers, particularly in gaming, for 9 years. I worked from startup companies moving to giant corporations like Zynga. And over the past year and a half, I've started my own growth marketing agency, Appvertiser. And we've been working with a variety of app developers, high-tech, e-commerce, or web developer companies, helping them grow their business from growth marketing, everything from user acquisition, creative development, reporting, analytics, and growth hacking. So today's session, it will be particularly focusing on very high level understanding and explanation of what is growth marketing. So this session is a good one for anybody who's new to this. I will go over the basics and some of the important parts that should be considered when you are trying to be as a growth marketer, or if you are planning to have a growth marketing team. For the sake of the conversation, to give you some examples, I will be focusing on examples that are related for app companies. So also a reminder for anybody, if you have any questions, please add them in the comment session. And then when I get a chance, I will respond to them. And obviously at the end, I will also give some time for any questions or to respond to those questions if we have some time left. All right, let's get started. So for today's agenda, we're going to do a quick intro about what is growth marketing. Then I will focus on the biggest part of the user acquisition, which is the major one for growth marketing for app developers. Then I will dive into data, because data is very important in growth marketing, creative marketing, and then growth hacking, which we will keep it for the end. What is growth marketing? Growth marketing is basically the activity of growing your business through a variety of marketing strategies that are out there. So it's not just user acquisition as you guys hear. User acquisition is actually one part of it. So there's product marketing is part of it, because it's all about the user journey, because it's not only about bringing the users through the door. So you have to understand exactly also how can you engage your audience? What are your audience are looking for, and how can you get them to be more attached to your brand? You have also app store optimization, SEO, which helps you to have visibility in the marketplace. As you know, it's a very competitive market in the industry. So you want to have your name or your app or product being popped out in the market. Creative optimization, it's still very about creativity, knowing exactly how you can message to your customers or your potential audience or even your existing audiences. Database marketing, everything that we do in growth marketing is related to data. All the decisions, we have to unlock and understand the data, what the data is telling us, and test and experiment and reiterate based on the results we get. And finally, behavioral marketing. At the end of the day, it's still marketing 101. You have to understand who's your audience is, what do they do, what's their psychographic information, where they are located. So on the right, you can see the graph, the circles. So that's a good explanation of what growth marketing is. It's a combination of all of these together, and that is where your sweet spot is. So I will definitely go over them more in detail. So let me just, before I do that, explain to you the 4 pillars of growth marketing. These are the 4 pillars that will get you to have a successful growth marketing team. What are they? The first one is obviously having talented marketeers, people who understand the marketing 101, as I mentioned, understanding the user behavior, who's your target audience, where they are, how can you find them, what can you do to attract them to come to your business. So definitely one of the first pillars is about the talent and also understanding marketing 101. And with the talent, that means also somebody who is very aggressive, very knowledgeable on the rest of the parts, like the user acquisition, app store optimization, data, which is the second part. And that's really, really, really important. Like, you can't have a growth marketing team without data. Everything that we do today is based on the numbers. So if you don't have a strong data supported team, I highly recommend having a data scientist or data analyst dedicated to your growth marketing team to help you understand exactly the results and the activities, and make decisions based off of those activities. And for those who are new to growth marketing and trying to enter into growth marketing, it's very important for you to understand um, analytics. You have to have that analytical background. What does that mean? Being very comfortable reading the numbers, Excel's, statistics, probabilistic modeling. So all of these are part of the growth marketing and successful growth marketing. The third pillar, which is the creative marketing. What I mean by creative marketing, it can be two sides of the coin, which I will explain in the section of the creative marketing. But basically, the messaging, how can it be created for attracting your potential customers? But on the other hand, it's also about finding creative ways to do the marketing push and get to the customers and increase your business. And lastly, growth hacking. At the end of the day, growth marketing, it is finding ways where you can hack it from the point of view of what can you do outside of the normal, but obviously to your limitations, to help increase the business. It could be anything from creating automation or finding new channels, new ideas that no one else in the market thought about them, and bringing them to the table. So yeah, those are the 4 pillars of growth marketing. Without any of those, your foundation will fall apart. So it's very important to have all 4 to be successful in growth marketing or have a successful growth marketing team. Now, in the next stage, what I'm going to do is I will dive into each one of those pillars more in details. And as a reminder, I will be focusing on giving examples related to app business, app marketing. Reminder again for the audience, if you have any questions or comments, please add them in the comment section. And at the end of the session, I will be answering to your questions. All right, let's get to it. So the first pillar, which was the talented marketing, obviously, that's I should have mentioned that because that's very it's obvious how to find that talent. But then also the marketing 101. This is for those who have studied marketing. You've probably heard this so many times when you were in college and you were bored with the words of the 4 Ps of marketing. But again, it's in reality, we're bringing that to work. Like, it still matters, the 4 Ps, when it comes to growth marketing or even modern or tech marketing. So let's start from the middle part, which is the target market. And this one, it easily to connect with the behavioral marketing, as you saw in the previous slides. What does that mean is understanding who's your target audience is, what's their behavior, where they are, how can you target them. But then also target market could be understanding your competitors. Who are they? What are they doing? And what can you do to beat them and have a strong presence in the market? Now let's go to the 4 Ps. Starting from the top left, you have the product, which is your brand. What are the services that you're offering, and what type of app is it? How you have to know exactly what makes you different from the rest, which will lead to the success for you. On the top right hand, you have the pricing, which is understanding how are you going to make money, basically. How are you going to charge your potential customers? Is it a freemium model that you're offering? And in most cases with the app marketing, with the freemium model, is that they either do freemium model, but they will focus on advertising within their app, so they will have ad monetization business. Or sometimes it's completely free. Like a good example of that, like Reddit started like that, or Instagram started like that, but now they started showcasing ads in their business. Subscription-based modeling, good examples, like, as you all know, Netflix. You pay subscription and you get unlimited services from your app. And lastly, in-app purchases. That's very common within the gaming world, where it's a free to play the game, but obviously if you want to advance in the game, you have to make purchases. So that was pricing, like knowing how are you going to make money and how are you going to charge your customers. But that also means when it comes to marketing, you have to also understand how you calculate your KPIs, your ROIs. At the end of the day, if you're going to spend marketing money, you have to spend intelligently and in a way where you're not losing financially, or it's an operational cost for you that's negative. But instead, you always have to find ways where it's always ROI positive for your business. Going to the down left side, which is promotion. Promotion is how are you going to get to your target market. So the most common one in user acquisition, in growth marketing, is user acquisition. Why user acquisition is important? User acquisition is because it's the foundation of growth marketing. It's in a very competitive market that you are in. So having a strong user acquisition background and understanding is key. Second one is ASO. Reminder that this is only, we're talking about app business. So I didn't mention SEO in this example, but SEO can also be if you're let's say if you're in a web business. So ASO is important for being visible in the App Store. Creatives, which is the messaging, showcasing the right message to the right audience. organic growth, finding ways how can you grow organically through community, creating engagements with your audience, pushing a marketing push in the social media and get attractions. All of these are organic promotions that you can do to help grow your business. And lastly, the place. The place is basically the market. Where's that market? Where can you find your target market? What are the channels that you need to be active in? Is it online versus offline? Obviously, in the app world, it's the online as the one that you see common. But then there's a lot of strategies where you can also implement where it could be implemented can have a positive impact in the offline world. All right, so that was the 4 P's of marketing. So user acquisition. As I mentioned, user acquisition is the main growth marketing art that's being used within the app business. Why? Because it's a very competitive marketplace. Think about it this way. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of apps in the marketplace. When you launch a new app, how do you expect to be visible in the market when you're new? So it's very important to do user acquisition to help push you up in the ranking and also get to those customers that you are looking for. So user acquisition could be two ways. It can either be paid, which is buying advertising through paid channels, or finding ways where you can grow organically. I will go over the paid in a moment. And also, I will share a little bit more about the organic as well in the following slides. So user acquisition, you can see on the left, it's actually the first piece of the puzzle. It's about bringing people to the door. It's showcasing the message, people creating recognition about your brand, raising the awareness and consideration and interest, and then somebody taking an action. And the action in this case with user acquisition is the app install, which is the first piece of the puzzle. But then after that, you have the rest, which is registration, subscription, which is post-install activities, which is the user engagement. And these are important for, as a growth marketing, to know that your job is not done by just bringing people through the door, which is the app install, but also engaging them, which I will not go over in details about how to do the registration subscription in this section or in this session in general, but just to give you an idea of how it is. And the two types which we covered, which is you have the paid one or the organic. Paid acquisition channels. What are the available channels for you out there in the online world and the offline world? The most popular one, which starts from the left, which is the paid social channels, such as Facebook, Google, Snapchat, TikTok. Video networks are particularly those networks that have video inventory. So you're buying video ads within other applications or other publishing apps where you can have your video served. Programmatic DSPs is also outside of the universe of the social networks. So social networks, they have their own inventory. With the programmatic, the demand side is basically looking for any available networks out there in the market from different publishers, and having that inventory and bidding on that inventory automatically. Whereas with the video networks, is sometimes it's more of knowing exactly what you are bidding for. Like, for example, you're bidding on an inventory that match 3 puzzle games, whereas programmatic, it's more automatic and finding the right users for you through the algorithm that the programmatic networks have. Then search ads. And search ads, mostly you see it with the Apple search ads. In fact, Apple search ads, it's one of the largest growing available inventory out there in the App Store, where people go to the App Store to find apps, and through Apple search ads, you can win the first, you can buy basically the first inventory, where you can target your customers and beat your competitors to be above your competitors, for example. Incentivized channels, it's basically are an option of rewarding users to download your app. So there's a lot of applications out there or programs out there that's reward-based programs. And what does that mean is they incentivize the user to take an action. In this case, they incentivize them to download your app, and in return, they will get rewarded for their action. And that reward could be used if, let's say, they are an app, they can use that reward in an app. If it's a program, they'll probably get coins. When they accumulate those coins, they can, let's say, redeem a prize if there's a prize at the end of the day. But why this is a good strategy for you as a marketer, it's because there's a higher chance of people installing it. Might not be that the best option of in terms of creating interest. However, you at least were able to convince somebody to come in through your door, and then it's the job of your app and your product marketing to find ways to engage them. And lastly, media, which is, I would say it's not very common, but it's over time becoming more and more common in the application business. And media through like TV ads, podcasts, radio, influencer marketing as well, which is considered media in this case, OTT as well. So all those additional options are very important to attract users in a broader way. Like now, the difference between media versus paid social possibly is because with paid social you can be very detailed targeted on the targeting, whereas with media it's a little bit more broader for you to go and buy users. However, it's still effective. It can still drive great results for you. Those are some of the existing paid social channels, as you guys know, and the most popular ones are Facebook and Google. Facebook and Google continue to be the dominating ones in the industry. On average, marketers, they spend at least 50% of their marketing budget on those two channels. However, there are a lot of emerging channels that are coming out, such as TikTok, Snapchat, Reddit, Pinterest. So a good strategy for you to, or a good tip for you to keep in mind is that always go based on where your audience is. Obviously, if your audience is younger, and male-driven audience, let's say, you don't want to be on Pinterest, because Pinterest is more heavy female-dominated, older demographic. So for your younger male-dominated audience, you would want to be on TikTok, you want to be on Instagram, you want to be on Snapchat, Reddit. So that's the idea of like having a good media mix modeling through the paid social channels of different channels where you can go and attract your customers or potential customers by having multiple channels working together. For user acquisition, what are the buying types? For the buying types, usually because your optimization goal is install, which is the first thing that you are optimizing for. However, that's not the last thing that you are aiming. That's not your end goal or end results. Your end goal is a dollar sign, right? Like you want your business to be profitable. So in order to do that, a lot of the networks, the paid networks, came up with bidding optimization options or bid types and products where you're not just only optimizing for an app install, however, you're also optimizing for that end results. Like your end result, if it's an action such as subscription or registration or revenue, like you want to optimize for users to make purchases and drive $100 revenue versus $10 revenue. So a lot of those networks created these sophisticated and complex systems of bidding that will help you to get to your target. So on the left side, if you think about it from the top, you have the broader one, which is MAI, which is mobile app install bid. So what this will do is the system will only optimize for app installs. So they will get people only to install. So they will look in their system people who have a tendency to install your app at the lowest cost possible. So they will neglect the other factors, such as like if you're optimizing for revenue, they're not going to look for that. The second one, which is CPA, cost per action. Action could be any event that somebody takes after they install within the app. It could be an app open, registration, level completion, purchase, adding to cart. So you're optimizing for any of those events. You're telling to the ad network that, hey, don't only look for somebody to will install my app, but also will complete an action. Let's say that action is a purchase. And the last one, which is value optimization, or you hear that called for some people TROAS or min ROAS, which ROAS stands for return on advertising spend. So basically, you're optimizing for revenue value. You're saying to the network that I don't only want a $10 user, but I want $100 user. So go and find for me somebody who will not only install my app, but will also spend $100 in the app. So obviously, keeping in mind from the top to bottom, cost will start to go up as you go bottom part, because it's more detailed targeting. It's only focusing on a specific audience. So thinking about it this way, your big circle will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and as it gets smaller, you have fewer people to target, and with that your costs will be higher, and plus those are valuable users, like they are $100 LTV users, so the pricing on those will be much higher than a price of somebody that's only just going to install your app. It's good to have a combination of all three from a marketing perspective, because a lot of businesses is not just only going for the higher LTV. There are some businesses where it's an economy-based business. Like you need to have a lot of audiences where you can create an economy for the game. So that's why you can create the media mix modeling with the bids as well, where you have different bids that are focusing on different angles. And for the bid types, there's two types of them. You can either do automatic, you just rely on the network to get the users at whatever cost it will cost you in the market, or you can do cost control, where you can say, hey, I don't want to pass $1 cost, or I don't want to pass $10 cost. So that's something that you can determine. So that was user acquisition, buying types, and user acquisition in general. Now let's get into the second pillar, which is data. So data-driven marketing, data is king. So it's very important for you as a marketer and growth marketer to analyze the results and take actions based on the numbers that you have in front of you. In order to do that, and if you haven't done it already, first thing you need to do is you have to integrate data solutions. That's why I recommended in the beginning of hiring a data scientist specifically for the growth marketing team to help build infrastructures for you. And then once you have that, then your marketers can go in and analyze the results by reading the data, and then take decisions and optimize based on the data that they've read, and take actions on all the different channels that you are buying from, or even like any of the other campaigns that you are using outside of like the channel acquisition. And lastly, execute and then monitoring the results. Like you always have to rely on data, and every time you take an action, see what the data is telling you. Like, did this action pan out for me? Did it drove better results for me? And making decisions based off of data is very important. Again, data is king. Always take decisions based on the data. So some examples of how to look in data. On the left side, you have an example of the different sources that you're buying from Facebook to Google to Pinterest to Snapchat. And then And then the other columns are basically how much revenue, percentage of revenue that you're generating, of percentage of the spend that you're generating from each of those channels. So on day 0 versus day 1, day 2, how much money you've generated and what was your cost of for each of those channels. And then on the right side, it's an example of understanding the user journey from somebody installing to day 3, day 10, day 32. In this example, it was a UA campaign of somebody to install the app, but then another campaign was done to re-engage those users to open the app. And then with the data, we were monitoring the 30-day user engagement, like what was their engagements on day 3. For example, in this case, on day 3, they made a $10 purchase. On day 10, they made a $12 purchase. Then 32, they made $21 purchase. And so there's also the attribution part of it. Attribution part is meaning that how can I say that this revenue was driven from this install and from that specific source that I acquired from. So that's why you have to always look at in the lifetime install attribution window. And then also if you're doing re-engagement campaigns, you can also look into the re-engagement only attribution. But because this was came from the initial source, which is very important, which is the install, you always have to attribute it to the main source, which is the channel that drove the installs. Another example of sample UA report, this is showcasing week to week the media spend through the user acquisition, and also understanding, for example, how much revenue you're generating by day after the install happened, what's your cost of install, and then also understanding what's your ROAS, the return on investment so far, how much money you've generated from spending those marketing budgets, and then also understanding the LTV, what's your average revenue per user. It's also important to know the quality of each individual users versus looking at it at a holistic level. Now, getting into the creative part, which is the third pillar of the growth marketing. And creative, as I mentioned, there's two sides of it. First part is having this creative mindset to execute and drive strategy when it comes to growth marketing. Always using the best judgment and finding unique and creative ideas to put your company ahead of everybody else. It could be anything from how you're messaging yourself, or maybe the channels that you are buying from, or maybe you do an interesting, it could be like something like doing an offline event that nobody else has done. It's always finding ways where it can put you ahead of everybody, will make you succeed and be competitive in the marketplace, be off the competitive market. And then the second side of it is the creative optimization. Because user acquisition and the online marketing requires to have messaging, and it's all about optimizing that message. In this example, it's a business of a coffee or juice business. So let's say it's Starbucks business, and it's a good example of showcasing 5 different messaging in different ways. For example, one messaging showcase that it's during the morning time, so you only showcase that message throughout the day, whereas a nighttime message, you only showcase the nighttime message. And then also thinking about it this way, like by knowing who is your audience and their behavior, showcase message that overlaps with their behavior. For example, if it's a morning person, you showcase a morning related ad. If it's a night person, showcase night related ad. Location based, are they in New York or are they in LA? So having the location being part of the message will make them feel that it is relatable to them. So making it as much as relatable will help you drive better results when it comes to user acquisition. So that was the creative part. The last pillar, which is the growth hacking. What is growth hacking? Growth hacking is basically The process of blending all of them together, the marketing, the product, the data strategy, plus doing some experimentations like outside of the box, that creative ideas that I mentioned, and all of these will help you drive an effective marketing strategy and execution that will drive your business forward. Think about growth hacking as a way where you are coming up with ideas where nobody else has done it before. It could be anything from like automating some of your marketing work, or doing some creative ideas of like of hacking how to buy advertising on Facebook in a way where it's giving you a competitive advantage over your competitors. It could be that you find a creative idea that your marketing team created, and it helped you grow that, and now you can 10x the production of that type of creative idea and drive the business forward. In the next slide, I will showcase an example of automation. Like obviously in the UA, because you have so many different channels that you're buying from, and a lot of them requires automation work, a lot of them require manual work. You can find ways where you can process them to be more automatic. Let's say for the sake of the conversation, it's only Facebook, and you're buying ads on Facebook, and you have 20 different campaigns to manage on Facebook, which could be sometimes time consuming, and sometimes it's hard for you to make the right decisions because there's so many data going on, so much information going on. So the best way you can do is you can set inputs to the system by saying to the channel, these are my goals, and putting the new creatives. The goals could be that I'm optimizing for lowest cost possible. So then after you put the system, then you have, then with the system, you could create a modeling. Basically, the model is look at mathematical model by saying, okay, if the cost doesn't go up by 10%, or the cost goes down by 10%, raise my budget by XYZ amount. So that's the model that you can put to the system, and then the system will automatically optimize it for you, which is the third part of it. And that's where they can raise the bid for you. So instead of you making that action, the system will do it for you. And the optimization could be not just numerical optimization, but it can also be asset optimizations, like creative. Like let's say if a creative does not get any traction, no impressions, no spend, pause that creative down and replace with a new creative that you're going to launch soon. So these actions can be taken automatically. And lastly is actions, alerts, to give you alerts. Like let's say you were spending on a daily basis $1,000, suddenly now you're spending $100, which you've lost a big chunk of your marketing spend. What happened? So the system can alert to you ahead of time and tell you, hey, this happened, take an action. And then somebody from your marketing team can go in and take action. So this is a good example of how you can do automation on the UA channel. Channels like Facebook, Google, they have their own APIs, and I suggest you, if you are in that advanced section, to go into their API, understanding how to do some of those automation. And if you don't want to do the API, they do have some basic automation solutions, such as scheduling when to launch campaigns, or maybe raising the bids when you hit 10% of your budget within the first minute. So there's a couple of rules that they have that are basics, but if you want to create the advanced model, then it would require to have a product built out. So that was the fourth pillar, the growth for growth marketing, which was the growth hacking and finding ways where you gives you an advantage over your competitors. And to sum up all, so let's take an example of high level best practices that you can apply within an app business or growth marketing business. First of all, know what's your objective. whether it's an app install that you're driving volume or revenue that you're aiming for. Then know who's your audience. Are they male, female, younger demographic, older demographic? Then analyze your competitor, analyze the market. What strategies are they using? And then with that, you will be able to also identify your own strategy. When identifying your own strategy, you're going to know which channels to use, the place, the 4P of the marketing, using the best ad formats, the creative part, the messaging, knowing the best practices when it comes to the creatives. Always run testing, and test new channels, because there's always new opportunities out there that you've never thought it would work, but try them out. Always dedicate a certain percent of your budget to testing. Know your limits, know your budgets. Obviously, spend your marketing in an effective way that's driving your business forward, versus saying, oh, I'm just going to spend blindly and I don't care. And then data, analyze your paid UA data, like understand what were the results, know your KPIs, know your metrics, what are the objective that you're aiming for. If it's a revenue you're optimizing for, understand what are the KPIs that showcase to you that revenue or get you that revenue number. And lastly, optimizing the app store, leveraging social media, which is your organic part of it. So if you combine all this together, you will create a successful growth marketing strategy, and you'll have a strong growth marketing team. This is basically circle, and the circle always goes around. As you move in different stages in your business, you will always have to go through the circle and continuously grow based on that. All right, that will get to the end of the meeting. So thank you, everybody. Let's see if we have any questions in the group. All right, let's see in the comments. Hello. Hi, everyone. Tori Vega, if we will be sharing the recording. I believe that's a question for the Hero House team, but I believe so. The video will be available through YouTube. Oh yeah, I see. And somebody also responded. Let's see. Another question. My product, hard plus soft, is going to be sold to hospital, medical clinics. What kind of tools do you recommend to use? So because you are in the business of hardware, definitely user acquisition and online business, it's a harder sell to get to the end results, which is the hospitals or medical clinics to purchase them. However, what you can do is you can use the online world to create awareness about your product, to get your product out there in the market for those hospitals or the decision makers from the hospital and medical clinics to see that there is this product out there. And then what I would recommend is, after you do those things, then target them through email marketing, or even some like traditional marketing, which is direct marketing, like literally like doing sales, like going and reaching out to them and see how they would sign your business. So at the end of the day, again, growth marketing, it's about finding creative ways. Traditional, non-traditional, they're all considered creative. So always find ways where you can drive the results that you're looking for. With paid acquisition, it's about creating that awareness, or maybe creating that interest. You can create landing pages where you can collect their information. You can ask them questions to fill out a registration form. And then when you have their insights, then you can directly reach out to them and win their business. All right, let's see other questions. The question there is that our product is UTech, a website builder for creators with automation tools. Can you give me please a recommendation for the e-learning platform? Obviously, e-learning it's definitely an online business, so definitely doing online acquisition, it should be a part of your strategy. Because you are driving a website business, having a strong landing page, having a strong search engine optimization strategy will help you get there. And plus, on top of that, because it's an e-learning, you will have to have strategies where you can find ways where you can create affiliate marketing programs, like partnering up with other companies or people to help you drive your business forward. So in this case, you have creators, right? Like creators that you want them to automate the tools. So if you have creators already, make them your brand ambassadors. Tell them to promote your message. So it's sort of like an influencer marketing strategy that you can implement. So have them promote your message and promote your brand and product, and in return reward them for being for doing the job for you. Plus, on top of that, paid acquisition, it's always worked for e-learning businesses and e-tech. So user acquisition through the different channels, knowing where your customer is and who's your target audience. Based off of that, determine which channels that you want to dedicate your efforts to, and test. Testing is key. Always test to find the right recipe or formula that will work for you. All right, I believe that was it. If there are no other questions, thank you for everybody joining for me to speak and walk you through the growth marketing 101s. And we will be doing more sessions down the line in the future. If you have any topics or recommendations, feel free to recommend to the Hero House team, and we will be happy to present and speak in the coming weeks and months. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day or good night. Stay safe and take care.